Okay, welcome to the first episode conversation session of Untangle Your Emotions by Jennie Allen with Fran and Angela. We're so glad that you're here. I know this is so fun. Okay, let's go over just a couple of logistical business type matters so that we all know what's going on, and then we're not going to spend time to do this again. But before we get into why we chose this book, I thought it would be helpful for you to know, and just to remind you that when you sign up using the link that has been provided, and if you want that link, just comment with your email address and we'll make sure that you're on our email distribution list, okay? So we want to make sure that you understand that you're going to get an email every Tuesday in the month of June that says, hey, we've got a new video where we're talking about the book. So we want you to know that. We will use our Rambling Through Everyday Life social media for all of the posts and stuff. So you can subscribe to our YouTube channel, and that'll be linked in the email that you get every Tuesday. But if you're like, I don't want to follow your Rambling social media, that's totally fine. Our feelings are not hurt. Just make sure that you have subscribed and following our YouTube channel, because that's where everything is going to be posted.
Every time you say the word feelings, a bell should go
off.
Oh.
Ding, 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 ding.
The word of the day is
feelings. Our feelings will not be hurt. If you're like, I don't want to follow your podcast, social media, I get it. That's totally fine. We just want to engage with you all. So even though you're watching this isn't live, you're watching this, it's gonna, we want you to comment. We are gonna comment. We're gonna do posts throughout the week that's not on YouTube. So whatever level of comfort and participation you want to be about, that's up to you. We don't care. But
it's fun to have a place as we continue to process.
Yes.
To say those things and interact with it.
That's right. And anyway, so I guess probably the main thing is that if you're not in our email group, that you fill out, it's literally just your name, email address, and cell phone number in case we decide to text you. And we might, when we're recording this, we don't know where we're going to go with that, but we might. So it's not like it's a big long form, just so that you're up to date and you get the Tuesday email.
Speaking of the form,
yeah,
shout out Meredith.
I know, y'all. Meredith, our friend, who is so precious.
I wish we had the applause button.
I know,
for the podcast. Woo, Meredith!
She's a rock star, y'all. She is. An absolute rock star. So,
she stepped into this with us and organized it.
Yes, she's helping us stay on track. Okay, so why this book, y'all? Why Untangle Your Emotions? I'm a huge Jennie Allen fan. Went to the first If Gathering 10 plus years ago. Just deeply appreciate her passion and her love for people, and wanting us all to grow in our relationship with the Lord, but the Bible. And anyway, love her. And this came out back in February, maybe, after the first of the year. Yeah. And we were talking about this on our podcast about what book to do. And this, I think this is the timing of it. And we knew it would be good. We've both done Get Out of Your Head.
Yeah. If Gathering. Just a huge fan of Jennie Allen. So, and we also, this is going to be a little touchy. Yeah. It's going to be a little touchy. We're going there. I looked up the word emotion. Because, word nerd.
Yeah.
And emotion is a feeling.
Yeah.
So we've already used that word.
Yeah.
A few times. Not even trying to.
Right.
We have feelings and emotions. It's an emotion or a feeling such as love, happiness, fear, anger, or hatred that can be caused by the people you are with or the situation you are in. We've all got people and we're all in situations, and we all have feelings and emotions. So
there's that.
It's so relevant.
It is so relevant. And we'll get to this. We're going to walk through chapters 1 and 2 in this video. And we've also we're paying attention to time. So this will last no more than 45 minutes. If we're in the middle of a sentence, we're going to say goodbye.
And we'll have a plan laid out. Did you say that already?
I don't know.
What's coming, what chapters to read each session and all that.
So this video is just chapters 1 and 2. And we're going to get into all of these feelings. She opens up before we ever even dive in. I put a heart around it, and I cannot tell you how many times I have taken this verse and prayed this verse over myself, over all manner of people, and I just want to read it over us before we dive into conversation.
I love to confess things.
Yeah.
The past month, I have prayed this verse almost like a weapon over some people that I thought needed it. And surprise, I needed it the most.
Hello.
So here we go. It's so appropriate that this is how we're kicking off.
Yeah, here we go. Okay, let me put my glasses on. Y'all bless it all. Okay. Ezekiel 36:26 says, I will give you a new heart, and a new spirit I will put within you. And I will remove the heart of stone from your flesh and give you a heart of flesh. And she goes on to write, God, we want our hearts to be whole, living, beating, feeling, full, connected to you and to one another. Help.
Help.
Oh my God.
The NLT says a tender, responsive heart.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, a heart that is made of flesh, that is alive, that beats, that is, not just cold.
Checked out.
And I know we're going to get into all this, but I don't know. I think it's just, I think nowadays that we're all so busy and we're so afraid to feel what we need to feel that it's easier to just not. And so I think the older you are, if you're listening to this, the older you are, there's just a lot. It's going to take us a minute to untangle, to rewind, because there was a time when we were okay feeling.
Yeah.
And I don't know when that was, but now it's just like you're not allowed to feel anything, or most of what we're hearing and seeing others feel is anger and rage. And, I'm right and you're wrong. And so it's just like, I'd rather not. We're all afraid to experience what it is we feel. So.
And the older we are and the longer it's gone on, the harder it is to even, it's daunting. But here we go.
We'll do it
together.
We're going to do it together. Okay, in chapter 1, she opens up with a story. And I remember, I was listening to this on Audible before I got the book. And she walks us through a story of when her daughter, Kate, got married. And that's exciting and it's wonderful. But then Kate started telling her mom, Jennie, about that they had all these wild adventures that they wanted to do and all these plans and all these exciting things. And she just felt herself like, what? No, you can't leave me. You can't go do that, even though she knew that was so very appropriate. And I don't know, I know I have those moments of, hang on a second, I can recall a situation or a moment or a memory where I don't like how I was feeling. It was good and I didn't like what it was bringing out in me, or it could have been something bad and I didn't like what it was bringing out in me. Is there anything that you can recall off the top of your head where you're like, and y'all need to think about it too. It's just, and maybe it's just to begin to consider when those moments are happening throughout the day. And it doesn't have to be anything small, medium, or large. It's just anything like, what is my reaction? Why am I feeling that way?
I think there's times that I'm fine when most people would not be fine, but then I will blow up or get just crazy emotional over something that on the surface is so silly because I am a stuffer. Like, we'll get into this, but I'm like, okay, let's just carry on and blow past it and fix it, and no time for that. So I've got people in my household that feel their feelings very strongly. And I'm, Carl and I both are just kind of like, let's just blow on past it. And either extreme is bad. Yeah. Or unhealthy.
Well, and too, think about the home that you grew up in. In my house, I watched, my dad had a horrible temper, and I watched anger just be so prevalent and at a high level a lot of the time. And so my mom, out of protection, like we didn't acknowledge it. We didn't talk about it. So I never knew how to respond to that. I didn't know what to do when somebody was, granted, this was an extreme. So, you know, I don't know what to do. I've been taught, I guess subconsciously, to suppress everything. Like, we're not going to talk about it. We're not going to feel it. We're not.
Wish it away. It didn't really happen.
Yeah. Act like it didn't happen. Yeah. That's horrible.
And then when we do have these moments, it's so important, and I'm learning. We all are through this book to go, hold on, what's the root of that? Yeah. Where did it come from? What's behind all this? And dig it up and examine it and look at it. Yeah.
Okay, on page 5 in the book, and let me pause and say this really too quick. I don't know that we're going to say anything super profound. However, if you want to grab paper and like jot things down or like refer back to things that we talk about, we have a little bit of a loose guide that we're going to work through. Okay, so on page 5, on the top of page 5, she says, can't stop the feeling. Let me ask you a question. Have you ever had a disproportionate emotional response to a situation that should not have affected you in a dramatic way? Can we recall it? I don't know, but I think we need to begin to consider that as we move forward. Pay attention throughout the day how you respond. And then she says, let me ask you one more. Have you ever stopped to think about the reason for that response? What is it? And that's ultimately what we're asking. She goes on towards the bottom of that page and she says, these revved up reactions tell a story about something we've lived. They point to a deep-seated something that has gone unaddressed. I'm getting kind of uncomfortable. In our heart, we experience something impactful. We react to that thing by stuffing our feelings. I do that. Minimizing our feelings. Do that. Or ignoring how we feel altogether. I do that too.
Ding, ding, ding.
Ding, ding, ding. Not good, not good, not good. Then something else comes our way, something that's not even that big of a deal, and we lose it. That's what Angela was just talking about. We unload on a loved one. We catastrophize. We ugly cry, heaving until we can barely breathe. Why? Why? On the middle of page 6 in bold, she says, your feelings, my feelings, are not evil things that need to be beat back.
Okay, here's where my mind goes. I love that she's putting language on some things that apply to me that I don't know that I was this self-aware before even reading some of this. But it's almost like fighting them off like a virus, or like this little gang of intruders in dark robes coming into onto my property, and I'm just like, get back, hey, yeah, you know, just fight them off.
You don't belong here.
You get out. Yeah. Get away from me. Yeah. Get away from my people.
Right.
We're good.
Right.
Go away. Wow.
Wrong answer. Like that's, right. But that's what we're brought up to do. That's what we're trained to do. And it's awful. Yeah. She says, underneath that on page 6, she says, even if you're the most effective stuffer ever to live, the very best at stuffing feelings way down deep, so far down you believe they can never be found, I'm here to tell you those feelings don't go quietly. The hint of rage that you felt towards your dad, the fear of rejection you felt with your family, the striving that has exhausted you at school or work, the jealousy that creeps in whenever you are at that one friend's house, the bitterness that flickers when you talk about why you don't have kids, the despair you feel in your gut every time you think of the person you love buried underground. I know you think you packed all those things safely away in a box so that you won't have to see them again.
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh, wait a minute. Again, why did I respond the way that I'm responding? And she said, feelings cannot be beat back. They can't be ignored or dismissed. They are trying to tell us something. And that's where the tension is. So whatever it is that's triggering some kind of response out of us that we don't know what to do with. I'm not saying we don't like it. It's just we don't know what to do with it. We just are like, I don't know what to do with it. I don't know what my response should be. And something that I've said it to you and even said it to my husband, and I don't think I've done it really well one time, is I said, oh, I'm going to start acknowledging my feelings towards something that upsets me or I'm angry about. but I'm not. I'm a professional stuffer. I'm a peacemaker. I want everybody to just be lovely and get along. And so I'd rather not say, Angela, I'm pissed off. Angela, I'm so sad. Angela, I'm so frustrated. You could probably count on one hand the number of times that I'm that honest, because I'm just not. I don't like it. I'm afraid of what your response is going to be, or what if you don't handle that the way that I want you to handle it, or anybody. So I just don't.
And here's what's
not
crazy.
Good.
We have processed life daily together for 10 years, and we struggle with this. So, I mean, it's clearly a thing that we need to work on. All of us. I mean, I'm assuming that we're not the only messed up people out there.
Please tell us that we're not alone.
Tell us you're also messed up.
Okay, what else?
Okay.
She goes on to say, she leads us through some stuff, pages 7, 8, and 9 of the fear behind the fear.
Fear.
Yeah, it's all just, you know, why did I react that way? Why is that stirring up something within me? Well, it's fear. And again, we can't be afraid to sit in it and acknowledge what it is that we're feeling. Where's that fear coming from? What is the root? And sometimes that takes professional counseling. Sometimes it just takes a good friend to say, to start asking you good questions. And that's a whole nother subject of, do we have the people in our life that we can open up and say, I'm pissed off, I'm sad, I'm angry, I'm frustrated, I'm disappointed, my feelings are hurt.
And just naming it, not just I feel negatively about this.
Right.
But what is that?
Right.
Is it anger? Is it,
right.
You know, and then is it righteous anger? Is it
right.
just being crabby?
Right. Well, and the older you get, like it's so hard to step into that space when, you know, if I were to look at my marriage, for 30 years, I've been a professional stuffer. And then all of a sudden, wait, where'd all that come from? Who are you now? She's lost her mind. And it's like, you know, then you're just scared to step into spaces or conversations with people that seem not normal for you.
And as we begin to heal, as I've started getting healthier with professional counseling, with you to process with Jesus, with the Bible, with all these things, as I start getting healthier, the people and the conversations I've had in the past, it does change. People in your own family look at you like, I don't know what to do with this version of you.
Right. Yeah,
so
right.
Be ready for that too.
Who are you? Let me say this too really quick before we move on to chapter 2, unless you've got something else within chapter 1. If you're a mom, if you think about your kids, I will never, ever forget this as long as I live. But I also didn't have anybody to help me understand how to parent this side of life with kids. And keep in mind, I have 3 boys and they're all grown now, but you never grow up in figuring this out completely. I mean, here we are, I'm in my 50s trying to figure this out. So when one of our boys was, the oldest one, Clay, who's now 27, 28, I don't even know, y'all, that's what happens. I think he's 27. When he was a little guy, he was my sensitive child. He felt things deeply. And I would catch myself saying things, I'm guessing, I don't recall exactly what I said, but I'm guessing I said things like, oh, you're fine, there's no reason to cry over that. He's a boy. You know, like I had this mentality of,
suck it up.
Suck it up. Pull your bootstraps up. You're a boy. Like we don't do that around here.
Be tough.
Be tough. Where did I get that from? That's way back there. And so I would say that to him, and I can't remember who the person was. I just remember that she was older and wiser, and she had been, she could have been a teacher. I'm not sure. I think she was just a parent, and she was one step ahead of me. And she said to me, Fran, you don't want to squash how the Lord has designed your child. But that's everybody. Everybody has been designed by God in his image to feel and have and possess these emotions. And here I was telling him, a boy, you can't do that. You can't be emotional. Like we kind of tend to think that boys it's okay for them to be rowdy and rough and, you know, maybe more of an aggressiveness, like whether it's through sports or, you know, whatever, but a tender side, an emotional, like, a side that cries. Like, it bothers me so much to this day when a man feels like they can't cry. I'm like, what?
Jesus wept is the first verse most of us ever learned.
How do you not cry? How do you not feel tender emotion? How do you not get a lump in your throat as often as I do? Like, it's interesting to me. I don't know how to describe that psychologically, but I think in some form or fashion, we're teaching our boys to, we're not gonna let that side of you exist.
And it will come out later.
Yeah.
In some kind of way.
Yeah. So, if you have boys, let them feel their emotions.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Do you want to dive into chapter 2? Anything else in chapter 1?
Keep going.
Okay.
Good stuff.
Chapter 2, all tangled up. Okay, she says, and I am too, Angela is too, we're fixers at heart. Why do you think that is? Why do you think you're a fixer?
I think it's, part of it is how I'm created. Part of it is I'm paid to fix people's problems. Part of it is control. Part of it is a trauma response. I don't want to deal with anything hard or sad or scary. I want to go have all the fun because I've had hard seasons.
Let's just put a bow on it and fix it up and make it go away.
Survival. I think for a time, I really, and I don't want to go deep into this, but I think it's important for people watching to know just a little bit of what we've been through. One of the worst things I hear is when people say, "Oh, you and Fran just seem like you have it all together. I didn't know y'all had," something along the lines of, "I didn't know y'all
only knew
had any problems." Or anyway, be assured that we do. But in my my freshman year of college, things started really going south. By my sophomore year of college, my parents were divorced. By my junior year, summer after that, I had gotten married. My senior year of college, my mother got killed in a car wreck. The week or two after I graduated college, started law school a few weeks after that, my family was upside down. I had 2 younger sisters I was trying to look out for, and be a wife, and graduate law school, and pass the bar exam, and have a career, and I had Kaylee the next year. It was just go, 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 go for so long that then 3 years ago when my dad died from COVID, I hired a grief counselor. You know, you held me accountable to that. And one of the first things I told her is, I want to make sure that I feel my feelings. I know that I have stuffed and just never, you know, that was in 1998.
That makes my heart feel heavy. Like I feel that anxiety for you.
Yeah.
Because it's too much. Like, do I really want to feel my feelings?
It's so much. And she said, you know, what do you mean by that? I was like, I don't know. It just sounds healthy. It just seems like the right thing to do. But I look at my daughter, Kaylee, who is the age that I was when I got married, buried my mother. You know, my whole family was busted up for a whole lot of reasons. And it was just, I'm not giving myself the grace that I would her or somebody her age. When I look back at that, I hold myself to a really impossible level. And it's easier to just go, nope, we're not dealing with any of it, soldier up and carry on.
Well, it's too hard.
It's so hard.
It's too hard. That requires time and effort and maybe professional help. And it's
tears. And grief. And the fear of, if I start crying, will I ever stop? Will I ever be okay? If I allow myself to feel how hard this was and how broken my heart is, will I be okay on the other side of that? It's terrifying.
Well, and now we have a phone that can distract us when we start to feel a certain way that we don't want to acknowledge. Then we just pick up our phone and start escaping in that way so that we don't have to go deep and dig into any of it. Like, it's hard.
It's hard, and the distractions are everywhere, and it really does take a lot of effort. But it's worth it because
Yes.
I will say this too, just briefly, because I did not deal appropriately with that. It continued to pop up and bubble up in small ways until it completely erupted. But when I had both my children, I wound up, and I don't know if this was because of, but I did have postpartum depression with both of them. In addition to Jesus provides things like counseling, professional Christian counseling, medication. There is not one thing wrong scripturally with either one of those. They help me. We believe in counseling. If you're listening and you need connection to that, let us know. We will help you with resources. But it continued to bubble up, and then my mid-30s, I just hit a very rough patch and fell hard, and the Lord saw me through it. But I look back and I can tell where it was just, it was like an earthquake where you get the little rumbles and then it all just implodes. But God has been so faithful, and I'm still learning so much, and this is gonna help me.
Well,
it's a lot.
It's a lot.
But it's worth it.
It's a lot.
And Jesus is with us.
Yes. And well, I was going to say something, but I'm not going to go there because that's a whole nother thing. Okay. On the middle of page 114, she said, I'm sorry, 14, not 114.
Did you say 114?
In the middle of page 14, 1-4, she says, feelings were never meant to be fixed. Feelings are meant to be felt.
Whew.
So we want to fix them, like just, I don't even like know how to summarize that. What does that even mean? But we're going to have to feel them in order to fix them.
It's just like with clay, you know, you see tears and you swoop in and dry them up. Let me fix it. Whatever's wrong with you, let's just fix it and move on. I'm not sit with you in it and let you cry.
I'm not even a child psychologist, clearly, but but I'm sitting here thinking, you know what we do?
We'll just play one on TV.
But this is what we do. This is what we do with our kids when they're little. If there's an expert out there, I'd love to know your take on this. Because like when a child falls, you're fine, you're fine, you're fine. Get up, get up, get up. And you're like, no,
you're okay.
Let them cry. Is that okay to let them cry?
As the mom who insisted my son was fine and 2 weeks later found out he did in fact have a broken bone.
I mean, you know, like,
you're good, you're fine.
You're fine. Because we don't want to be that family that's a distraction to everybody.
Or wimpy and weak.
That's right. Like it's just this weird, unhealthy. And she says at some point, I think in this chapter, that the reason we have memories, help me if I'm wrong on this, the reason we have memories is because there's emotion tied to them.
It's coming up.
Okay.
It's coming up on page 18, I think.
Okay. So feelings were never meant to be fixed. Feelings are meant to be felt. So when you moving through this week, Lord, convict us all and remind us and help us recognize quickly when we're feeling something, we let it do whatever it is it's needs to do within reason. Like you can't go off on people.
No, but Anna and Elsa, let it go. Like when you think about the lyrics to some of these songs, they have all new meaning with feel and don't conceal.
Yes.
Let it go.
Yes. Yeah. Okay, so then she also says on this page, this is all in bold, she says, your feelings aren't trying to control you. They're trying to tell you something.
They're little informants.
They are.
They're not intruders.
They're not
the informants.
They're not the guy in a black cape with the, you know, like you were kind of describing.
They're the town crier going, do-do-do-do.
Hello, hello.
We have a royal proclamation.
Hello. You are mad. You are so mad right now.
We need costumes.
But, you know, like, just, okay, this is what's going on.
Don't kick out the messenger. Listen to what the messenger's trying to say.
Oh, man, y'all. Oh, man, y'all. Okay. So, yeah, this is what we do. She says when someone at work said something that hurt me, it happens all the time, y'all. I would pretend I was fine and yet dwell on it every single night.
I hate that word. I'm fine.
I'm fine. No, I'm not.
No, we're not.
No, I'm not. When my kids came home from a hard day at school, I would try to get them to remember the good things that happened instead of sitting with them in the pain of hurt. That's the other part of it, is that we have to teach people and help people how to be on the receiving end, so that when Angela is trying to convey her feelings to me, that I'm not like, oh, no, it's okay. It's no big deal. Angela, you're going to be fine. Like, you know what? Like, okay.
Let me give you an extreme example. When my cousin Sam Bomar died, you know, Raina's been on our podcast, 18 years old, died. When he died.
And a tragic 18-year-old death.
Only child. Horribly traumatic for all of us, especially his mom and daddy. Somebody at church came up to his daddy after a year and said, it's time for you to get over it. Now,
what was his response? Do you remember?
I was not told about this until years later because Raina rightfully knew that we did not need that information. But when people cannot weep with those who weep and sit in suffering with you, and we don't need to feel the pressure to fix it because we can't fix it. And we're going to say something that's not helpful and just sounds dumb. Just be with people and their feelings is the lesson that I'm taking away from all this when tragedy strikes.
So if somebody is comfortable sharing something with you, like if I were to share the hardest parts of my story with someone and they don't know what to do with that because it's just, it's so traumatic, it's so shocking, it's so horrible, then just sit in it with me or that person and just say, thank you for telling me that.
I'm with you.
And I'm so sorry that happened.
Right. I'm honored to be with you in this process.
Yes. And you just hold it with great care. And that's it. You can just
That's enough.
That's enough. That's enough.
But don't minimize it. Don't gloss over it. And sure don't say, well, it's part of God's plan. Because some things that the Lord's just as broken as we are about broken things that happen. And I've heard people say, well, that must be what God intended.
Right.
Let's not be those people.
Yeah. Let's not be those people.
Can we be positive for a minute?
Yeah. Okay.
Because we've talked about emotions in a negative kind of way.
Okay. Let's talk about good emotions.
There's so many good things about emotions. Are we ready to talk about Jonathan Edwards?
Yes.
Do you have anything before that?
No, go.
I can't remember what page
I don't
on.
either, but
18?
you talk about it. I'm gonna find it.
Revivalist preacher. When we quote a revivalist preacher, we just feel really spiritual around here, especially from a prior generation.
Yes.
He resolved to live with all my might while I do live. Emotions make us feel alive.
Yes.
They're how we remember what happened, creating core memories. You said that a minute ago. And I love, so when we did Get Out of Your Head by Jennie Allen, we learned the word neuroplasticity.
This is Angela's favorite word.
I love it. Our brains, the way God created them, can rewire themselves.
Praise God.
Right? All the Romans 12.
Yes.
I mean, just, it's so cool. So on page 18, she teaches us another word. A new big word that I'm going to throw around because I like to feel smart when I quote science from Jennie Allen. Amygdala is our new word, y'all.
Yes.
Brain scans have shown that emotions directly trigger a response in the part of our brain called the amygdala, which boosts memory encoding by enhancing attention and perception. It can help memory retention by triggering release of stress hormones like adrenaline and cortisol. When we have these emotions, they create memories.
Yeah. This is on page 18 and 19, if you've got your book with you. And it's underneath that portion where it says to live is to feel and to feel is to live. Lead with emotion and the memories flow.
Think about, and you may have done this already, I was thinking about my earliest childhood memories, and my whole family would get together every Sunday for lunch. We would have all our Christmases. We'd spend the night at my grandparents' house. My Aunt Sylvia and Raina and cousins, and all of us were there. And when I think back, it's always like Christmas at Denmark or a baseball game. We went to see the Cardinals every summer, and we were all as a family in Busch Stadium. But all the emotion, think about, when they hit a home run and everybody's jumping up and down and losing their mind, or just all those highly emotional responses. Yeah. And those are the things I remember.
Yeah.
I don't remember just a mundane Saturday afternoon.
Yeah, right. Well, that's what she says in the middle of page 19. That's why it's so damaging to kids to ignore, minimize, or reject altogether their feelings.
Ugh.
And honestly, we do that with anybody, not just our kids, but especially as we're trying to grow and help be a part of their development in the healthiest of ways, is that we want to come alongside and sit with people and help people navigate and acknowledge how they're feeling. So to reject it or to minimize it, discard it, ignore it, completely not a good idea. So she says, to feel is to live, and to live is to feel. In his book, Emotionally Healthy Spirituality, which I have and have read, thank you, Joe Ball, I highly recommend that book. Pastor and author Peter Scazzero wrote, when we deny our pain, losses, and feelings year after year, we become less and less human. We transform slowly into empty shells with smiley faces painted on them.
That broke my heart.
Without feelings, there is no life. I'm writing this book, Jennie says, not only to help us feel again, but also to help us start living with all our might to live. So that's the beautiful side of it. Like, we're going to do some hard acknowledgement, some hard work, but the goal is to live. Okay, I love this. Angela and I kind of briefly talked about this a few days ago on Boxer, but so on page 21, she has a diagram, this right here, that right there, that diagram, and it's a...
I wish I had a rope here. I know. To break a rope.
I know. But there's actually, I don't know where she mentioned it, there's actually people that study ropes and stuff. A knot theory. It's called a knot theory. But people figured out that by simply studying a knot, its size, its shape, its various crossings and parts, they could identify certain characteristics that would ensure a few simple moves could be used to undo the knot. And guess how they studied this knot? Guess. So see, like, here's what's healthy up at the top, and what's unhealthy is at the bottom. Go back to that diagram. The rope, that rope represents our feelings and the way they are meant to work. And we'll explore in the pages to come, our emotions serve to connect us to God, to others, and to ourselves. But that image contrasts starkly with how most of us would describe our emotional inner lives. A jumble of confusion. Jumbled up, knotted, right there. That's where all of us are probably living. So within this knot theory, let's go back to that, which is crazy. People out there study this. So how did they study the knot? How did they study it, Angela?
They held it up to the light. Y'all, I'm thinking about my knotted up necklaces. My jewelry gets in the worst tangles if I'm not careful. And you hold it up to the light and you see how it all crisscrosses, and you know how to untangle. And when we take our knotted up emotional selves and hold it up to Jesus, he helps us just...
Well, and scripture somewhere says, y'all know we're not good at addresses around here, but somewhere in scripture it says, you know, that we bring things to the light not to be condemned or judged, but to be healed.
That's right.
So whenever you're asking the Lord, like, bring it to the light, reveal it, all of this, well, it's meant to be healed there.
Untangle me.
Untangle it all. So she says at the bottom of page 22, and I would love for us all to say we commit to this too. She says, I've committed myself to holding my tangled feelings to the light. And I think we need to begin to write them down every single day. At the end of the day, jot down how you felt that day. And with each loosening of a knot, I've experienced more freedom. Freedom to breathe, to laugh, to cry, to rage, to rejoice, and to live.
And here comes neuroplasticity, y'all, at the bottom of page 23. Just like neurons that, because of neuroplasticity, literally reach out for each other to try to connect. You can reach for and find every time new pathways. We're on a new highway.
Yeah.
We can be whole. We can find freedom.
Yeah. This is good. Okay, y'all look on page 25. We're almost done. On page 25, I don't want to show my book.
Before we do that, can I say something about 24 that's so important? Because you know I love to preach, don't follow your heart.
Oh,
that's in Disney movies. It's not in scripture. Your heart and your emotions cannot rule. But, you know, we're in this world of feel your feelings, follow your heart. On one hand, we've got, you know, that extreme. We are talking here about emotion submitted to the will of God.
That's right.
in the truth of God's word. This is not just feel your feelings and
Right.
go act on them or
And
live
be
your
wild.
truth or go be wild.
Right.
But using emotions the way God intended connects us to him and then connects us to one another. And I love the word regulate. I know you do too,
I do
because
too.
of all of our counseling. We start to regulate and become healthy. God built our nervous system. He wants to regulate and help us regulate our nervous system. And so you've got, and you're going to get into this on this next page, but we've got this spectrum of where we land in how we're feeling our feelings. Let's talk about that.
Okay. At the bottom of page, let's go to the bottom of page 24 up to page 25. She says, I know we're all coming at this topic from different places, but hear me loud and clear, she writes. Whether you are a man or woman, young or old, big feeler of wild feelings or someone who just doesn't want to feel, an impassive man in his 60s who swears he has never cried, or a preteen girl who can't seem to ever quit crying, we are all feelers. We may express it in a million different ways or try to hold it in with a few techniques, but we all feel. God built us to feel. Okay, then she draws this line there, and we're somewhere on that continuum. We're either someone who never expresses their feelings or someone who expresses all their feelings. This is where I put mine. Like, I'm down there towards the, I don't express my feelings, my honest feelings.
I can be whoever you need me to be.
I'm a beautiful chameleon. I will be exactly who I need to be in any moment. And sometimes you need to do that.
Sure.
But that's not a good...
But I don't need to do that with you.
Right.
When we're talking privately.
Right.
Or certainly with the Lord.
Right. Yeah. So are you on that? Where are you on that line?
Well, I'm getting healthier. I've paid a lot of money to get healthier.
She's going to lead us through this part a little better.
I've had some therapy. But yeah, now I'm at the point of, as I'm waking up and noticing my feelings, I don't always know exactly how to articulate what I'm feeling, but I'm very aware. I've noticed when I read books from Christian authors that I love, or when I hear a song. This morning I heard a song and it was surrounded by Michael W. Smith, and I was like, oh my gosh, that's how I feel. I'm catching myself say, that's how I feel. And you've got to be careful who you're looking to mimic or to let their words, to adopt their words for how you're feeling.
Yeah.
Obviously, I want it to be solid Christian sources, but I'm learning to just recognize within myself or in scripture or in songs or whatever, like, that's how I feel about that. Or that's how I want the Lord to guide my feeling in that. It's such an unraveling.
Well, she says at the close of this chapter on page 26, she says, emotional health is possible.
Yes.
And we hear a lot in our society of, you want to have a healthy emotional IQ. We want this. We want it for ourselves. We want it for our loved ones. We want it for our families. And we're not going to be afraid to acknowledge this. And everybody, again, is going to go through this book in your own way that you need to. But I do believe, based on everything else that we've done with Jennie Allen, it will be life-changing. And the Lord will be very kind and gracious to you as you discover how you handle your own emotions and what you're bringing to the light and what you're not, and being teachable. Let the Lord teach you and reveal to you, and you trust him as he takes you through down this road and through this discovery process, because it's going to be great, but it's going to be hard, I think.
It is, and this may be a good place for us to close, but she mentioned, I think on the next to the last page of chapter 2, about God being a God of order.
Yes.
And when I think of all the, in Beth Moore's All My Knotted Up Life, like I love that phrase, but we've had all these knots that we're untangling because of Jesus.
That's
because
right.
God is putting this order on it. And she says the process works for all of us because it's God's intention for us. He's a God of order, not of chaos. And that comes from 1 Corinthians 14:33, that says, for God is not a God of disorder, but of peace, as in all the meetings of God's holy people. And the Greek word for peace adds the idea of calm. And what more do we need in all of our emotions than some calm? And living in an orderly way helps us be in tune with God. It's backed up by all of creation. He created everything so orderly and beautiful and consistent. And we can trust him with all this. So when it does feel scary and hard, that's what I always go back to. Like, he is my rock. I can trust him. He's with us. Exhale.
Okay.
And be ready to jump in, y'all.
Here we go.
Part 2.
So the next video, the next release will be that whole section 2, that part 2, why we're so tangled up. I know that's a lot of content there, but Angela and I are going to lead you through just some highlights. But remember, throughout the week on social media, if you choose to follow us there, we will continue to kind of dig into a little bit more. Than we can't do it all on video. We'd be here for 10 weeks.
It's good.
So good though, y'all.
Yeah.
Okay. We're so proud of y'all. We're so proud of you. Thank you for joining us for this first session. We love you guys. If you want the link, it's going to be in the comments, the description for this video, and pass it on to your friends that want to join you in this. Okay. We love you guys. We're praying for you. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.